This is My Reality Podcast Show, the podcast that allows you to tell your story with no questions asked. If you think you don't have a story, then think again. Everyone's got a story to tell.
How I finally left my abusive relationship after 9 years. He only ever hit me once, but the brutality of his tongue was as cutting as a punch in the face. It's 4 years since I made the bravest decision of my life to leave my mentally abusive relationship, yet my ex-husband still thinks he can manipulate me, which is one of the reasons I want to share my story with Cosmopolitan. I want to stop other women from going through a horror that, even today, I'm still struggling with. When he got, when we got together, I'd been in the same friendship group as Damien for a few years. After I was brutally date raped when I was 20, Damien was the first person I confided in. He acted as a rock, taking me to medical appointments and to and from work. I began to wonder how I'd get through it without his support. I quickly moved in with him as I couldn't bear to stay in my childhood home where the rape took place. My parents were upset but knew Damien and took his word that he'd protect and care for me. We became an item and I felt safe, so much so that even though I wasn't really attracted to him, I thought if we separated, I'd have no one. It was better to remain with my safety net than to have to go it alone, or so I thought. I needed to feel loved, but instead I was made to feel repulsive. Gradually I became stronger and the old me began to blossom, which is when I noticed how badly Damien treated me. He insulted me, calling me fat even though I was borderline underweight, and laughed at me when I was dressed ready to go out. I needed to feel loved, but instead I was made to feel repulsive. When we went out with friends, he'd wait until I was tipsy and then argue with me to make me cry, so I'd look like a drama queen. Friends felt sorry for him having to look after me. Whenever I went out with girlfriends alone, Damien would constantly call and text to check when I'd be home. He made me feel guilty if I dared to have a drink after work with the girls, or even go to the theatre with my mum. Friends began to notice I was always walking on eggshells, worrying about getting home in case he shouted at me for being late. I'd always been ambitious, an accomplished singer slash songwriter and violinist, with lots of other hobbies, but I stopped doing most of them because he always put me down. I believed I was worthless. Of course he did whatever he wanted, while eventually the only place I was allowed to go was to the gym. My confidence plummeted. I felt unattractive, yet I craved Damien's approval. He had me exactly where he wanted me. I knew I shouldn't have married him. He only ever hit me once, but the brutality of his tongue was as cutting as a punch to the face, and the internal bruises he was no one saw the internal bruises he was causing. Our sex life too was clinical and cold, and Damien even used his knowledge of my rape as a weapon against me. I lost count of the amount of times he called me a freak in bed. Wow, this guy, man. Different, you know. I'm not gonna lie. That's some mind fucks, boy. You get me? Yeah? That's crazy stuff. You know what I mean? I feel sorry for this woman, man. I knew I shouldn't have married him, but I was in too deep. The proposal, 7 years after we got together, was a ring plonked on my lap with a casual "will ya?" The precious words every girl dreams of hearing from their Prince Charming. And man was like, "Will ya? You marry me? Will ya?" Shabby, you know what I'm saying? I knew I was making a terrible mistake, but before I knew it, the wedding had been organised and paid for, and I was scared. By now, I was so dependent on Damien and so isolated from my friends and family. I thought if I didn't marry him, I'd have no one. The only control I felt I had came in the form of an eating disorder and self-harm. Oh, you see what I'm saying? It's fucked, man. You know what I mean? Which I inflicted on myself by cutting my arms. These things were mine, things he couldn't intervene in. Wow, imagine that, man. Cutting your arms and eating lots, you know what I mean? Man. Like I said, feel sorry for this woman, let's carry it on. Eventually, 18 months into my marriage, I took an overdose. Damien stood over me, forcing pills more into my mouth. Oh my God. Telling me to do everyone a favour and just die. I'll never forget those words. Oh, he's a bastard, boy. Seriously, this guy's rotten to the core. Cover that fat up, it's a turn off. That's what he said to her, She's taking an overdose on the floor. He's putting more pills in her mouth and telling her to cover the fat up. Cover that fat up, it's a turn off. What kind of guys are these guys, man? Well, if you know guys like this and you got them in your circle, you got them around them, you're saying you love them and all that, boy, I'd think twice. That's all I'm saying. Right, let's get on with it. Even then I didn't leave, but the last straw came when one night I dressed up in sexy lingerie to make an effort, even though having sex with him disgusted me. Cover up that fat, it's a turn off, he snurred. The next day I was meant to meet my brother and his girlfriend in town, but Damien decided 5 minutes before we were due to leave that he couldn't be bothered to see my family. It was then that I felt the surge of strength and told him I wanted a divorce. Good on you, man. You see what I'm saying? I want to cut it there quickly, ladies. You have to gather that strength up. I'm telling you, you have to gather it up if you're in a relationship like this. That's what I said. If you know a guy like this, you got that guy in your circle, gather the strength up. Trust me, and that ain't easy. Talk to people, get some help, gather that strength up. Right, let's carry on. It was such a relief to know I'd be free. Although I knew he wouldn't make leaving easy, I caught an injunction. Although I knew he wouldn't make leaving easy, a court injunction meant he couldn't come near me. Sorry, apologise. So instead, he'd come into the house and steal my things when I was out. Bastard. I was left with barely anything, but I still had my sanity, which was the most precious thing of all, you see. Not said that I still had my money, that was the most precious thing of all. I still had my fur jacket, that was no, I still had my sanity, okay? You can't buy sanity, you know what I'm saying? Trust me, man. Think about it, When we finally sold our house 18 months after I'd asked for a divorce, I could finally close the door on the horrific years I'd been under his evil spell. Yeah, I love that. I just put that word in there. Definitely that for him. He's an evil man, you know what I mean? Today I'm moving forward with my life. Although Damien's still not completely out of it, I'm living my dreams. I'm slowly realizing my worth, and doing all the things I was unable to do when I was with him. This is the strongest I have ever felt in my life. A few weeks ago, he called me asking for money. I'm not sure he'll ever be completely gone. But having the strength to tell him no showed me he can no longer intimidate me, make me shake with fear, or have an ounce of control over me. Go on, girl. Trust me, man. Strong woman, man. You hear me? Real talk. He no longer has any right to my life, dreams, ambitions, or thoughts. This is the strongest I have ever felt in my life. I'm sharing this story for those women who are currently in relationships like the one I was trapped in for 9 years long. Oh my God. And plead with them to confide in someone who will help you to leave. You can do it, and believe me, you'll never look back and regret it. So yeah, that's her words, it's not mine. You get what I'm saying? It's a woman who's been through it, 9 years strong. She was trapped in a relationship with a guy like that. You heard some of the things he's doing, what he's saying to her. You know what I mean? Consistently, day in, day out. You get me? It's not an accident, his behaviour, innit? It's on purpose, innit? So, you know how the thing goes. Right. You deserve the best in life and should never let anyone tell you otherwise. Now it says, for help and support, visit Women's Aid or Refuge or call National Domestics Violence Helpline on blah, blah, blah. Like, you get me? I'm not going to go crazy. You know what I mean? But you heard the names, you get me? So if you're going through that, look them up and trust me, get involved. Get involved, you get me? So I'm telling you now. Like this woman's story, I know it's a bit of a hard one for probably certain women to take, and I know there's even men out there getting moved to by their woman and that. Now some people might laugh when I say that, you get what I'm saying, but it's happening, man. And when it happens to man them, no one cares, you get what I'm saying, because it's not common assault for men to get moved to by their gal, but trust me, it happens, you get me? So it's happening on both sides, you know what I'm saying? But obviously for the women it happens more, I guess. It's highlighted more and everything like that. So you women, if you're going through that, trust me, find the strength to try and get yourself out. You know what I mean? Because your life is worth more than that, yeah? Right. Thank you for listening to podcast. You know, and that's a story that I chose to share with you. Now, the woman didn't even leave her name. You know what I mean? So I couldn't even get to give you guys the woman's name. But, you know, the story's real. You know what I mean? People going through this shit every day. So you know how it goes. Yeah, till the next episode. Out. Peace.
My Reality podcast show is a platform that's set up for normal everyday people to come on and tell your story. Guests will send us a recording of their story, and the most inspiring story makes it on the show. We'll also contact guests via social media, so look out for that. This is a brand new podcast, KC's My Reality podcast show. If there's anyone out there that wants to talk about their reality on this platform, holler at me on all social media sites. Another way to let us know you want to come on the show is to leave a comment on the YouTube page with your social media details down below, and we'll get back to you. That's a problem.
To cause sickness, let them cold turkey all over the Christmas. I'm cooking right now, and I don't need a witness to get holes in my heart like hand washing dishes. Just to feed my baby, selling drugs is on the wish list. Yeah, selling drugs is on my wish list.